part of me was like, I might get last today, and it wouldn't really be a fault of like not being fit. I just know that there's, all these guys are really competitive and really talented. On the day, you just never know. And I got in at like 4 a.m. Friday or Thursday, so I was coming in not feeling like I was optimizing in every way. Yeah, I mean, the energy of New York and the road scene was just spectacular. Like, I've never seen such a display for a love of running, outside of like the marathon, like tens of thousands of people showing up to watch the marathon and 5K and everybody coming out to run. So it's pretty infectious, to go from that. And yeah, I kind of took the option of heading out into a quiet retirement off the table.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Cole Sprout today, back on the Running Effect podcast. Today's conversation is a really insightful one into this next chapter for Cole, where he's not hanging up the spikes, or maybe he's hanging up the spikes. He might be hanging it up on the track, but he's certainly going full steam ahead on the roads. He placed second at the NYC Road 5K that they always have the day before the New York City Marathon in a star-studded, massive professional field, and that's just the start for him. He's got a big horizon ahead. Today's conversation, we kind of dive into this new next chapter for him, as well as all sorts of subjects, reflecting on his past 4 or 5 years at Stanford and all the different lessons and learnings along the way. I really enjoyed this one. If you enjoyed, share it with a friend, give us a 5-star review, and hit the follow button so you never miss another episode like this. Without further ado, enjoy the wisdom of the man, the myth, the legend, Cole Sprout. Ladies and gentlemen, he is not back. He's better. In fact, he never left. I'm super excited, ecstatic, all the adjectives to sit down. The man across from me, Cole Sprout. He's been on the podcast many times, and I think people thought, Cole, what's this guy going to do post-grad? Is he going to hang it up? Is he going to join UNC status? What's he going to do? And you said, no, I'm going to hop in some workouts with the old man, the new American, Charles Hicks. And more than that, I'm going to get ridiculously fit, and I'm going to play second at the Abbott Dash to finish line 5K in NYC against the pros in my new Nike kit. That's what he did, and he's back on the podcast to break it all down. Ladies and gentlemen, Cole Sprout. How you doing, Cole?
I'm doing great, man. I love the intro. You're making me seem larger than life, so I appreciate that.
That's the goal. That's why they pay me the big bucks.
That's why they pay the big bucks. Exactly.
Is it crazy to you to have such an amazing pro debut when I think a few months before you were questioning your future in the sport?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I was having a reality check for sure. Graduating, I was fully exploring all of my options on the career side, software engineering type roles. And then I was still not quite like, there was something inside me that was like, oh, I really think I should see this through. On the running side, like I know there's more left, but it's more of a matter of if I have the opportunity to realize that potential, that latent potential that I know is still there. So I knew in a different circumstance, being graduated and not having the rigor of Stanford over my head anymore, I would be able to maybe tap into that and actually go all in, I guess. So yeah. Charles, he convinced me to come out here to Eugene, and I was like, you know what, sure. I might as well just see what happens. And pretty, wild turnaround, going from not sure if I would ever compete again. I was going to the 24-hour fitness over the summer, rehabbing an Achilles thing, and I was like, this is what I'm doing now, it's so weird. Going from, being a D1 athlete, you're, all expenses paid, you're traveling, to, I'm just a guy now. I've always been a guy, you know what I mean? But it's interesting to wrestle with that. And then I guess, come to terms with it, but then be given an opportunity to come back and, one last shot to kind of prove your stuff. So it's been an incredible opportunity.
I imagine at this point you play second, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you probably thought one of your first thoughts was, okay, I can't go back now. I can't retire after this. Like if you DNF'd, or if it was like last place and you got your ass handed to you, it might be a little easier to feed into those ruminating thoughts of like, okay, maybe I should hang it up. But you play second and you get in all the photos on Instagram. I imagine it'd be a little harder to walk away.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, absolutely. The result was incredible. I was fully, part of me was like, I might get last today, and it wouldn't really be a fault of like not being fit. I just know that there's, all these guys are really competitive and really talented. So, on the day, you just never know. And I got in at like 4 a.m. That Friday or Thursday. So I was coming in not feeling like I was optimizing in every way. But yeah, I mean, the energy of New York and the road scene was just pretty spectacular. Like, I've never seen such a display for a love of running, outside of like the marathon. Like, tens of thousands of people showing up to watch the marathon and the 5K, and everybody coming out to run. So it was pretty infectious, to go from that, and yeah, it kind of took the option of heading out into a quiet retirement off the table in my mind.
It's funny because high school, you were that guy. And so anytime you line up, and whether in the state of Colorado or nationally, I feel like there was a lot of eyeballs on you. And so then naturally, when you went to Stanford, I think there were always a lot of eyeballs on you because of the stud that you were in high school. But then also, you just ran so fast your freshman year. I think I'm going to mix you and Charles up, but one placed 16th, one placed 18th or something like that. And so you do that as a freshman, and it's like, oh, okay, this guy's going to be good for a while. And so it almost did you a disservice in the way of like, I feel like there was just always spotlight on you at Stanford. And so I
Mhm.
feel like this is the first chapter in a while that you've really been able to probably race free without really anyone caring about you, except your probably close loved ones and coach and teammates. What was that like? And do you think you were able to perform better because you didn't have eyeballs on you really for the first time ever? There was no expectation. No one would have
Yeah.
noticed if you placed sixth.
No, 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 exactly. Yeah, that was I think part of what at least allowed me to take some of the internal pressure off myself. I feel like that's the biggest source of stress is I, even if there's not necessarily like external amount of pressure, people eyeballs on me, I still have expectations for myself. But a lot of that is internalized from there being a lot of eyeballs on me externally. So going in without really any expectations, even from the coaching side, like this was really just an opportunity to kind of see how things were progressing. Not the end all be all by any means. So it was pretty chill just to go out, see New York City and a place I had never really been to before, and get to shake it up and just kind of enjoy it rather than dreading like, oh, I have to, if I don't, crack the top three, I'm selling the farm, like whatever. So that helped just kind of temper expectations and do it for the right reasons, I think.
I'm fascinated to hear more about just the mindset in this next chapter. What are you hoping to get out of it? Is it kind of like a trial run in your mind? Are you all in? I know you have a job on the side. Like, take the people through kind of the discernment process from graduating Stanford to ultimately making the move out to Eugene.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I think one of my biggest strengths, but also what has been a pitfall for me is that I'm all in on everything that I do. And so given this opportunity to be out here and train, I want to make the most of that. Like, I know how hard it is to be really good at one thing. And at Stanford, I was being pulled in a lot of different directions. I wanted to be the best academically, and I wanted to be the best athletically. And you only have so much time and so much energy. So I did feel the effects of spreading myself too thin. And so this next chapter, I really wanted to take advantage of the fact that I didn't have many of these other extracurricular things I had to take care of, such as classes in school and whatever else. And I could really craft my racing and training schedule around what works for me. So that has been really beneficial, to have the space to really hyper personalize everything. But also having the time to take advantage of all of the doors, all the opportunities that might be on the horizon too. Like I am somebody who likes novelty. I crave new challenges. So that was what excited me about doing more road racing or getting into road racing, especially this fall. But while I was doing that, obviously I'm building a website on the side just as like a side project, resume builder, whatever. There's a lot of different reasons that that's been pretty fun to do. But yeah, while I've been doing that, interviewing for other roles and just seeing like what's out there. I don't want to, while I'm like heavily investing into the running right now, you just never know, right? There's always opportunities and new challenges that might arise that you weren't really looking for, but kind of fall into your lap at the perfect time. So just being aware and cognizant of like those opportunities that might arise is kind of my mindset right now.
Was it weird to you? You go into college, one of the top guys in the country. It's kind of like you and Nico. You have a really amazing start to your college career, and then you start to have some setbacks, injuries, etc. To the point where, as you're kind of laying out here, there was a question in your mind of like maybe never running again, which
Yeah.
I think freshman Cole would have been like, whoa, what did I do to get in that spot? How
Uh-huh.
did you manage expectations and reality as your college career didn't end up shaping up to be what it could be, while also knowing
Mhm.
deep down that the talent and the work ethic and all the virtues that made you excellent were still there, as displayed by placing second in a professional men's 5K?
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of the different experience I had, as opposed to the expectation I might have had going into college, was that it allowed me to um, hone different skills and kind of reevaluate why I was doing what I was doing. I think it's really easy to just do what you've always known and not really question that, especially when it works and it's easy and frictionless. But I was beginning to be met with a lot of friction, obviously with injury, and running wasn't going well. And so you have to you have to kind of have a hard look in the mirror and figure out like does this have, is this viable for the future? Is this something that I should be doing? I think as somebody of faith, like I I was wondering like, okay, maybe this isn't the opportunity that I should be investing in anymore. Maybe the academics and the other things should be the focus. And so looking back, like obviously I was really fortunate to have gotten so much out of my Stanford experience, outside of the running piece. Like I wouldn't have gotten a master's if I had just been running really well and signed a pro contract after my fourth year. And looking back, I think that is already valuable and will continue to be more and more valuable as I get more experience and transition into a full-time job or career at some point. So yeah, it's funny because I really wouldn't change a thing about how things shook down. But I'm here and still running, which is kind of weird. Like I fully came to terms with, okay, this, it's just not an option on the table anymore. And I was kind of okay with that. I was really loving the work I was doing on the software side, building apps and learning a new trade that I hadn't really given much investment or given much thought into being a viable future. But like I just didn't. You don't know what you don't know. And my horizons were very limited. My perspective was very narrow in terms of what my capabilities were as a person. So I think that opened up my I guess perspective or thoughts of like what my skills were. Like I thought I was just really good at running, but I just work really hard. And like I said, like that can be a bad thing, but I've seen that pay off in pretty much everything. Like being able to be consistent and just put your head down and figure out what it takes to come back day after day after day will yield really good results in about anything you put your mind too. So, um, yeah, that's a bit what I've been thinking of.
What advice would you have, Cole, for someone listening who is kind of in that transition period, specifically in regards to the sport, whether it's, um, oh gosh, we shouldn't speak to competitors. No one in Cole Sprout's shoes. But like people, like I would say specifically that high school to college jump where they don't know, should they go D1 to go to maybe a lesser school, or maybe they're not good enough to go D1. So it's like D2, D3, or a run club, or should they start marathons, or even I think transitional people who listen, like from NCAA to maybe not going pro like you, but maybe when you get into some like amateur marathon sort of stuff. What would you advise people in terms of taking the next step in the sport when the path isn't laid out in front of you and uncertain, but they don't want to give up the sport as a whole yet?
Yeah, I think for me, what gave me the ability to even continue running was that I was doing uh, some work on the side. I when I came out to Eugene, I was working at a startup, and so that gave me the flexibility to continue running while I was still refining my career, and that was still like kind of the focus at that point, because that was what seemed the most viable at the time. But again, like there was that part of me that didn't really want to give it up, and so I was doing it on the side while working, I guess. And I think that what's beautiful about the sport of running is that you can do it uh, in so many different circumstances. A lot of people work full time jobs and train at a very high level, and it really depends like how much you want to invest into uh, that lifestyle, because it's hard. If you're working full time job and training and trying to also like perform at a really high level, that's a very hard balance to strike, I think. So I was fortunate enough to be in a work life balance, work training balance that afforded me the time I needed to recover and really focus on the running side, and still be able to get what I needed out of that to perform, as I did this past whatever a couple weeks ago. So yeah, it's a very subjective experience, though, a personal experience. I think you have to listen to, um, your gut instinct of like what, or it's honestly like it's a bit of like an introspective wrestling of maybe you have to reevaluate what the sport looks like in your life, in the next phase of life, going from high school to college. Like, I think there's what I've found is like, I don't, I wouldn't be more or less happy being a professional athlete or being a D1 athlete than if I was doing any number of things. I think that's what I've come to realize is that the label or the title of what I'm doing, that doesn't really give me my source of enjoyment in the sport. Like this whole summer, I was just kind of training on my own. I had no reason to be doing anything, but I just love being outside, and I like the health benefits and the psychological grounding that I feel when I'm out training. So regardless of if I was heading into a full-time job in corporate America, or if I was going to continue training, like running was still going to be a part of my life, and that process of just self-refinement, which is what I love. And you can get that no matter what the label or what like the capacity of training you're doing is, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Totally. So Swole Sprout will have to hold off for a few years. Cole in the gym.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait
Are
to
you? Let
hit
me
my.
ask you that. Are you the type? Are you the type of runner who like is excited to get massive after he's like done running? Or are you like, I don't really care too much. I don't need to put on.
No, I don't think I'd want to. I don't want to be massive. No, you know, when I finish running competitively, I think a hybrid athlete physique is what I would strive for. Like a little bit more upper body
Those dudes are
definition.
jacked.
What?
Those dudes are jacked. I
I
feel
mean,
like
like, listen, really, not like they're not like the Sam Soliks of the world. Like they're like very toned and like have upper body mass, but it's not like debilitating, you know, like where you can't run or it looks like you're carrying 100 pounds or you're in like a fat suit trying to run. You know, they get like the bodybuilders who you like see them on the treadmill and you're like, oh my,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't want that. I want to be able to like run and do aerobic things without feeling terrible. But you
I don't
know,
know. Some of these dudes are massive. I've become closer friends with a guy named Brian Pruitt.
yeah,
He comes more from a strength background. And he like recently started running. For those
yeah,
watching, which you should be on YouTube, you should subscribe and say something nice about Cole in the comments. Like that dude is jacked.
yeah. Okay, that's like that's a little bit more strength. That's a little less hybrid. I'm going more of the hybrid range of the
Did you
spectrum.
guys ever like lift heavy in college?
Yeah, I mean,
Like what's Cole
relatively
Sprout's max
speaking,
bench?
I know. There was never a min max. There was no benching whatsoever.
No?
Some of the guys on the team did it, but I
Who benched the most? Drop names.
probably top Galen Topper was probably the heavyweight champion.
Okay.
He yeah, him and Nolan, they're twins on the Stanford team. They both they could just hammer out pull-ups like nobody else. Gavin Sherry or no, Callum Sherry as well. So all three of
That's
those
my
guys
one
were
forte. I pull ups is
yeah.
like my because we had a pull up bar growing up. And I was like took online classes for a majority of my life. So I was basically homeschooled. And
Mhm.
I had this like deal with myself that I had like a pull up bar outside the boys' bedroom. And anytime I walked in or out, I had to like do a certain amount. So I would just get an absurd amount of pull ups throughout the day.
That's
But I feel
great.
like exercises like that, it really gives you muscle memory. And so you can just like
Mhm.
knock them out like crazy.
I was
But
gonna say, yeah. I mean, you've been putting on some mass too.
that's the
Like,
goal, man. I
what's the
benched
regimen?
205 this morning. We're making our way up to 2 plates. That's the
Wow.
goal.
Hey,
So
you're light years ahead of me. I have a long way to go.
we'll get you. We'll get you. Alex is
Yeah.
probably listening to this episode like Dominic. Shut up. You just don't convince Cole to get in the gym. I'll
Yeah.
say like lifting to your body is what running is to your mind. Like I feel like the physical clarity you get from like
Mm.
getting a good pump in is like you feel so masculine. Dude, you push weight on the bench, whatever like that means to you. It doesn't even like weight is subjective, just like pace is
Mhm.
subjective in running. Like a beginner's runner tempo run could be harder than a professional runner's tempo run, you know? So it's similar.
Mhm.
You feel like a beast and you feel like you can conquer the world. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
but
there's
but you
huge
don't get the mental
testosterone
clarity. You can walk out
benefits
of the gym
too.
and not feel mentally, but that's how I feel with running is like you physically
Mm.
can feel like trash after a run, but mentally you're like so stimulated.
Mm.
So
Yeah. I enjoy lifting. That was always something that I was also maybe naturally more inclined to. Like I've always been a little bit more muscular than some of my other distance running counterparts. So it wasn't something that I hated because I was just really bad at it. But honestly, I haven't been doing a ton in this build. I have just been mostly running, and so trying to trying to get that marathon build, I guess. But yeah, I just
you
have
have a good
some of the
frame for
strength
it too.
stuff.
Cause how tall are you?
I'm like 5'8",
Yeah,
5'9".
that's perfect. Being 6'2" is a curse trying to put on muscle because you're just so I'm
Mm.
so lanky.
Yeah, no, it's not a. I could pretty quickly, I think, get there if I wanted to, which is nice. But also for the marathon, for the long stuff, probably not what Jerry wants to see.
No.
So I'm gonna have to hold off on the max benching.
It is hilarious how like the hybrid athlete was like born. It's like there are all these funny tweets that are like hybrid athlete is really just a term for people who are like shitty at running and shitty at the gym, so they can like combine both and like consider
Yeah,
themselves decent. Like
no,
that's
that's me.
hilarious because it's true. No hybrid athlete is like fast, and no hybrid athlete is like beating
Really?
anyone who's like a power
Oh,
lifter.
well, then maybe I don't want to be a hybrid athlete. I just want to be more
You
athletic
do. You do.
overall.
Here's why. You want to
Yeah.
be a friend said this to me like a year ago. He had this great term or 2 years ago. He's like, Dom, I'm training to be hard to kill. I was like, that's great. I want to be running enough that I can like go on an easy run with someone like you if you
Yeah.
were in town and not absolutely die. And then I want to be fit enough in the gym that I can work out with like nearly anyone.
Yeah.
Um, barring like the extremes on both ends, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's a good place to be in where like you
Yeah.
can maintain both those ranges and then come in the middle for some pickup basketball or pickleball and still kick butt.
Oh yeah, pickleball. Yeah, not tear your adductor in half. That's the key.
That is the key. I
You
just think,
lose a lot of the athleticism when you just run straight every single
yeah,
day.
I think that there's a lot of benefit in just like being well-rounded. And that's what I like about the idea of being a hybrid athlete. Because to me, it's just like training for fitness, training for life. It's like you're fit enough that your aerobic capacity is decent, but then you can still lift heavy. So I don't know, man. I'd love to see Cole Sprout turn into Swole Sprout one day, but
Yeah.
we'll save it. Speaking of marathons, is that where the mindset's at? What are we thinking? A full indoor season, training for a road?
Well, yeah, that definitely is a longer term goal. Especially after watching Charles race like that, it kind of infected me with the bug. Like, oh, I could do this. I would want to do it. That's maybe the bigger or more important piece is like, do I actually want to go out and try and race 26 miles? And honestly, this is kind of an aside, but I've been watching a lot of like ultra marathon documentaries and short series on YouTube, and I just think it's just such a different side of the sport. Like it's almost past the physical and into the spiritual and mental war of attrition. You know what I mean? Where you're just slogging along at 8-minute pace, but it's like how long can you endure the Chinese water torture of running slow? So all that to say, I am definitely interested in getting into longer stuff. I am planning on doing Houston half potentially this coming January. So we'll see. I honestly have no idea what I'll be doing past that in terms of indoor, in terms of track stuff, but I'm a fan of the roads now. I don't know, man. I don't know if I'll ever go back to the track. We'll
Really?
see. Yeah, I just don't know. Like,
Not even
I
10K?
love, huh?
Not even the 10K?
Maybe. And I mean, like, I just don't. Yeah, I would almost guarantee that I would do some stuff, 5K, 10K, whatever. But I just don't know if that's as much of the focus. Like, I love the novelty of going out and just approaching the sport from a little bit of a different direction. Because I've done track for so long. It's like how much more track
How many more laps can I do? Yeah.
how many more laps do I have in me? Yeah,
Or maybe you need to step back in.
exactly. I think that's a kind of where I'm at right now. Like I like the fact that I'm able to be doing something else and reset a bit and then maybe come back and be like, oh, I still want to be on the track, because that might be the case. So we'll see.
Stay tuned, y'all. Stay tuned. Turn those post noties on for Cole Sprout. See what he gets up to.
Exactly.
What did you learn from training for a marathon with Charles? I know it's a little different, but like at least seeing up front, did you see what I saw his consistency and I was like, this guy's about to rip something. And I wasn't shocked by how well he placed or what he ran. What was your take and perspective on it?
Yeah, no, I wasn't surprised at all either. He's a machine. Like he is OCD king when it comes to executing day after day after day. And that's exactly the name of the game for the marathon. Like consistency rules all. And it was great. Honestly, I really enjoyed the training of building for a marathon. I obviously was doing less, but I was doing the exact same stuff as what Charles was doing. Because I had a bit of like an Achilles thing coming out of outdoor nationals in track that I rehabbed and was easy running, like just easy training as I came here in September. So I just kind of like jumped into training with Charles and workouts as he was starting to do his first workouts. And it's a lot of what I really enjoy, which are just like the longer, long tempos where you're not necessarily ripping the Band-Aid off, going all out, short, fast intervals, which are just can be a bit more violent on the body. So even from like an injury perspective, I feel like for both of us, I mean, Charles would say the same, like it's even though you're doing more, it's less intense. And so you just on average feel better. Especially since I was only doing like 75 miles a week and 80% of the workouts. Like a lot of my volume was coming from the workouts that Charles and I were doing. But yeah, I was partly surprised. Like I kind of expected it to be more and for it to be a lot harder. But consistency, like it is a lot. So much of it is consistency.
Bro's
Yeah.
trolling, acting like
Yeah.
75 miles a week isn't a lot.
Well, I say
Doing
that like
marathon
again,
workouts,
I
CrossFit
was
is a
doing
lot.
a percentage. If I was doing 115 miles a week, then maybe I'd be saying something different. You're gonna have to come back and ask me what I'm actually training for marathon. I might be saying something different.
Were you surprised at all by how well you placed given the quote unquote, I don't want to say lack of training, but like
Hmm,
you weren't doing 5K. Let me put it this way, and you tell me if I'm wrong.
sure.
If you were strictly training for that race, you probably would have been doing maybe slightly different training. You were really coming at it from the perspective of Charles' training partner.
Hmm.
And I think the beauty of running and training philosophy is like you can actually, I've loved studying Connor Mans. It's like that guy's always in shape to PR. So I actually think there's more crossover than maybe people would think at face value. But you, again, correct me if I'm wrong. From what I know about you and your training, you really weren't doing stuff that you were probably scared at how fast they were going out at a mile at that 5K because you were not used to that pace.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my biggest concern. Literally mid race, I was like, "Oh man, I have to be ready to close in like a 4:05 potentially," because we weren't going all that fast. So I was like, "Oh man, like they're gonna put on the jets and I'm gonna get cooked," because I haven't been, I haven't been doing like 5K specific work necessarily. But it's a bit of the thought or the philosophy that strength is speed, I think, where I had aerobically just built such a large engine over that marathon, abridged marathon build with Charles, that I was able to just keep myself in it. And the fatigue didn't really ever hit my legs. If I'm training for 10K, half marathon, whatever, um, 5K doesn't really, I don't have the same turnover, but I can just hang and hold on, that threshold to even like slightly anaerobic. Like I can just hang there for quite a while, just given how we had approached training. So it is interesting because a lot of my best races, even in the mile, like I ran my mile PR off of 10-mile tempos, like 350. I ran 356, and I going into it had no expectation of running that fast because I was like, I haven't done any mile specific work. But I think for my physiology, I guess it works. So it's magic,
Strength is
maybe.
speed, baby. Yeah, I mean, I
Mhm.
think people have this not delusional because I understand why, but they think that they have to do these miles. They have to feel race pace all the time in training to race well. And I'm always fascinated, even with the pro runners I talk to. A lot of times they have their best races early season.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
Now I think obviously tapering and like sharpening up, like it makes sense, but I think a lot of specifically younger runners can fall into the trap and think that they can't race well off of higher mileage. And great example, cross country. Some of your best races come early season when you're like in the thick of training, not
Yep.
tapering whatsoever. I'm sure you experienced that at Nutty Comb back in the day. It's like
Mhm.
I shouldn't be racing this well, but I am. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's just interesting. Like it's just the body's so complex, training's so complex. It's so hard to know.
It is, yeah. And with most of the high performers like grinders, the biggest obstacle is doing too much as opposed to too little. So I found for myself being held back by Alex and Jerry, and even just holding myself a bit more accountable for, like I don't need to blow the lid off of this thing or off of any, given workout. It left me a bit more fresh day after day, where I was putting money into the bank that I could then pull out come race day. Whereas just given, at Stanford in particular, your my general lifestyle was just far more stressful. I had more stressors, and so I'm constantly taking money out of the bank and then show up to race day, especially later in the season when I've been pulling out quite a bit of money and I'm bank, there's nothing left. And you just race poorly because you you don't have any more money to withdraw. So it's a bit of a balancing act. Like And even Charles, like he didn't do a crazy long build just to really kind of hit that peak fitness without starting to become more tired, more injury prone as you just start to continue that very high volume, high intensity training kind of unnecessarily. So it's, always a iterative improvement. But yeah, Charles kind of perfected it first try, it
To
seems.
this stressor's point from Stanford, you can
Mm,
plead the fifth with this question here, but we're not going to make this coach specific. I don't have any even like this is not like a coach or a training or a teammate question. This is a institution type question. So
mm,
you could replace any coach at Stanford, and that's not what I'm getting at here. Do you
mhm,
think it is harder? Do you think you would have had better results in the NCAA somewhere else if you hadn't gone to Stanford? The underlying question there
mhm.
or proposition is basically how much does outside stressor affect a student athlete, specifically someone like you who wasn't taking the easiest degree of all time and cared about academics?
Yeah, no, that's such a valid question. Yeah, again, I think it's a very simple formula. And I would 100% agree that if I was in a different institution and I wasn't taking a rigorous degree, such that I was doing homework a few times a week and I was really just training and then sleeping the rest of the day, I would have had, objectively, I would have had more energy, would have had more time to reinvest into the recovery and training process. Um, so yeah, it's hard to say. Obviously, you never know. But I would have given myself the best chance at really optimizing the performance side of things. And that's, I knew that going into Stanford that it was potentially taking two steps or many steps backwards to take a lot more steps forward at some point in the future. And so I was aware of that investment. That investment would require me to be in debt, so to speak, over the short term, but would set me up for, well, in theory anyway, better opportunities down the line. And that has seemed to be the case so far, which is, I mean, really, really cool. So, yeah, and obviously, like being able to compare, like, okay, I'm pretty much just training now with very few stressors on the outside. Like, it's a day and night difference. This is really like the first time in really my whole time running that I've been able to actually invest my entire time and energy into the sport, which is kind of wild. Like I felt like to some degree, high school, college, I was compromising on one or many fronts, but finally, I've been able to actually give it my all, which is pretty exciting.
It is exciting. I would go on the record and state I wouldn't say this is a hot take. I just think people are afraid to state hotter takes, which is I think a
Yeah, yeah.
Stanford degree is way more valuable than an NCAA title in terms of
Mm,
like real world implications. I think an NCAA can get you in rooms and maybe it can get you a pro contract regardless of the sport. But the Stanford degree you'll have till the day you die in the ecosystem
mm,
that you get into. I almost feel like it's worth if I was like advising my kid and they were excellent at athletics and could go anywhere. It's like, I mean, what do you want out of life and what do you want, right? But I'm a big believer in not making your sport the end all be all and being well rounded to extents. And I
mm,
think that comes with a Stanford or a Notre Dame type school where it's
mhm,
really prestigious athletically, but then you're also getting the degree that will carry you far outside of the sport. But it is a tough calculation. I think a lot of top athletes have to make because it's like
yeah.
no one talked to Nico Young or Drew Bosley. Drew Bosley was so ballsy about this. I feel like in interviews in the past, and I loved him for it. Like he was like, "I'm an athlete student." It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you are. No one there would admit that, but no one at NAU is a student athlete. Like you can get
Mhm,
away with taking communications 101 and like probably
yeah.
chat GPTing your way through it. It's just
Yeah.
not the same, you know. If
No,
you're going
no,
to
it's,
NAU, you're going to NAU for running. No, you can't convince me otherwise.
yeah. No, and that's exactly that is the mindset. Are you going to put all your eggs into one basket, into the athletic basket, or are you going to maybe diversify your portfolio, so to speak, putting in investment terms, like to protect yourself over the long term with a degree that if you break your leg, you get hit by a car, or you just can't stop getting stress fractures, whatever the case may be, you have set yourself up to do something else. Not to say that you can't. My mom went to NAU, so
Oh, did you
she,
really? I'm
yeah,
sorry,
she's a
Mrs. Sprout.
lumberjack.
I take it back.
That's right, yeah. But again, like that was a counsel I received from my parents. Was like, that you can run for I don't know, however many years, but them also not ever being um, athletes past high school, they have a very different experience, and being older, they have a lot of life experience. So they, yeah, I'm
You
very
have cool
grateful for that.
parents. Your parents look cool on Instagram. They seem
Yeah,
like
they are. They're cool in real life
intelligent
too.
people.
Yeah, no, I like them. They give me good advice for sure. It's yeah, you don't know what you don't know. I think for some people, I wouldn't recommend. Like part of it too is coming from a place of passion. Like I love learning, and I loved the dynamic at Stanford. But not everybody does. It's a personal. Again, it's like a subjective personal fit. So I'm not saying not everybody should go to a very rigorous institution. If you feel like you're really being called and you're really passionate about just doing running or just doing X, Y, and Z. So,
The nice thing with our sport too is I feel like running matches up with high level institutions, whereas it doesn't with other sports.
mm,
Like you're in a tough position if you're a football player. Like
yeah,
go to Ohio State, don't go to Stanford. Like
no,
Stanford
don't.
sucks.
Yeah, it's
Um, the Ivy Leagues don't really have football schools. I don't think. Whereas running, it's like Stanford's really good. Harvard is definitely good. They had Grand Blanc, so at least there's
yeah,
individual success. Notre
yeah,
Dame's always very good. Um, I could think of a few others if I took some more minutes of like really quality academic institutions that are also good at running, which
mm,
is just, I think, why we have like the kind of nerd disposition. People always think runners are smarter, which we are. So maybe that goes hand in
yeah,
hand with it. But I think it's the other sports that probably have a tougher time with these subjects where it's like, yeah, if you're a top prospect from football, you're making a very calculated bet that you're going to go to the NFL. And if it pays off, it's the way better investment
oh
than a,
yeah,
than a Stanford degree because you can retire after a few years if you're good with your money.
yeah.
But
No, Christian
running, there's just
McCaffrey, I
no,
don't think he's
yeah,
ever going to be working in investment banking or anything like that. I think he's pretty good.
yeah,
He made
Christian
he made the
McCaffrey,
right call.
yeah,
Yeah, but he
100%.
also he's an exception to the rule. Like he went to Stanford and still somehow.
They were decent back then, though.
That's
Stanford
true.
football's really
Different.
fallen off.
They
I don't
were
know what
yeah they were
happened.
more aligned with high performance. Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
he
been
was still,
tired.
I think, cool. Like he was right after the Andrew Luck era, so
Yeah,
y'all had some stuff going for you. Now I really don't know what's happening.
I don't
Um,
either. Yeah,
yeah, they
it's
stick to running in other sports. Stanford, I feel like, is like amazing at the Olympic sports. Like that's what they
yes,
specialize in. I feel like they
absolutely.
want to be the school that can get the NBC Sports article every 4 years of we're the school with the most Olympic medals. It's
Oh,
like
for sure.
always
Don't
Stanford.
worry, we have that banner in the dining hall every Olympics. We have the every single athlete who graduated from Stanford that went to the Olympics, and we're goaded for that. Nobody can do it like us outside of
GG's baby.
USC.
Dude,
So
speaking of Olympic athletes, and it's coming up on her time. She follows both you and I on Instagram. Eileen Gu, do you know Eileen at all? Did you ever meet her?
yeah, she came to my grad party actually. Yeah, so
Really?
I've met her. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I met her briefly. We talked for a few minutes. She's really
If you
nice
didn't
though.
know her, how did she come to your grad party?
Well, okay. So it was a combined grad party. It was me, my friend Jude, and Thomas Boyden. And so she wasn't coming for me or Thomas, but she was good friends with Jude. And so it was through that yeah, she showed up, and then followed me back on Instagram, which is really sweet because she's also
Big
into
time.
running. Yeah, which is
She is.
pretty.
I'm trying to get her on. I've given her coaching advice.
Have you
Believe it
really?
or not. Yeah.
What's funny too is that she actually ran like she really was a big fan of the sport in high school. Like she watched NXN and watched Liam,
Whoa.
and yeah, yeah, yeah. She watched Liam Anderson win NXN. I'm pretty sure she was like telling me this story, and I was like, "That's absurd." Like I never would have thought she cared at all. I don't, you just don't think anybody really
She ran
tunes
some
into.
crazy marathon time off of like very little training. I was very impressed.
She
We'll
did.
chalk it up to Coach Dom, but
Oh wow.
um,
Yeah.
I did.
Put that on a resume.
I literally she asked me like the most I can say this because she's not going to listen to this. Although Eileen, if you're listening, you can come on the podcast.
Yeah.
Like she's just, you could tell like such a new runner. It was like, how often should I be running hard? Like, what should my program? So I think I just like wrote her a sample week, and then she ran a marathon like 2 weeks later. I think she
Wow.
was like like mid to low threes off of like
Really?
very minimal training. Yeah.
That's actually
So
incredibly impressive. I mean,
she's got those Olympic genes.
yeah, I was gonna say she's generally pretty athletic and fit, just given she's always training for something. But you
Totally.
wouldn't really think of downhill skiing as something that
No,
translates
transferring
to.
over. Not at all.
Typically, it does not translate to running from the friends that I have. So she's an exception.
Speaking of you and Charles, what's it like to train with him, buddies in college? What do you think makes you two special that you wanted to continue the Charles Hicks times Cole Sprout legacy and bond?
Yeah, man, I think it really boils down to it being frictionless. Like we just understand each other. We're very similar at a very personal, deep level. Like we're just our personalities are very compatible. So yeah, when it comes to training, like you're looking for path of least resistance most of the time. And in a training partner, if you can find somebody who you can work off of and you don't, you just have like this nonverbal agreement for what each of you need on any given day, whether it's a workout or easy run, that being compatible makes things all the easier. If somebody's trying to hammer on a workout and the other person isn't feeling great, obviously that delta or the distinction between how the two people are feeling can create a negative disparity. But when you're both kind of equally yoked, so to speak, then it just you the rising tide lifts all boats. So yeah, that's kind of how it's felt. Training with Charles, it's just a very seamless, frictionless, easy process. So yeah, training with him, it's gives me energy, gives me inspiration. Obviously, like he's had incredible success in the sport, so yeah, he makes me a better athlete being around him.
He speaks so well too. Like
He
my
does.
few interactions with him on the podcast, I'm like, man, you're a poster child for Stanford. How articulate he is,
Oh, I know he
deep
is.
thoughts.
Yeah,
Stanford
no,
produces them, man.
yeah, he knows how to
Although
talk.
here's what I'll say to this conversation:
Yeah.
do these schools produce these people, or do they attract the people who are already like that, and then they claim that they
Mm,
have them? Because I would argue
yeah.
that like Stanford's only recruiting people who are like in depth of mind,
Mhm.
except Dominic Schluter when they rejected me, but that's okay.
Yeah, they didn't know though. Honestly, they probably didn't even receive your application. It was probably a mail, got lost somewhere. Otherwise, they
I
would
have
have.
such hot takes. I don't even care at this point because
That would have
well,
been that would have been pretty
I
sweet though.
no, I've thought a few times. Like I've thought a few times, like should I just like apply every year to see if I get in? Because I'm just way more accomplished. Like I thought I was qualified in 2023 or
Yeah,
2022 when I applied, and I was, but I've just like done 100x of everything I did on my application back then. So I
yeah.
kind of want to like
You
apply again.
honestly
Maybe
should.
next year I'll apply just to
I'd be so
see.
curious
But
because honestly, I think you would get in given your resume. Like they did, and to your point, like they just want to claim the success of already successful or
successful
like
people.
people who have the qualities of successful people. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but
Like,
the problem cancel me for saying this. The problem is I'm white and I'm a male, and it's just
yeah,
factually proven. I guess affirmative action is somewhat over, but I think these institutions still have somewhat policy. Like I'm just at such a disadvantage. Like,
yeah, you are.
and it just sucks because it's like
We
I
are.
don't know. I understand policies. And I'm the type of individual that'll always hear, the people who are pushing that sort of stuff and just be like, well, why do you think this? But I don't know if it's fair to me. It's just like, well, I can't change the color of my skin and I can't change
Yeah,
my gender. Like, what am I supposed to do? I tried to be as successful as possible to get into this school. But even with that, I was having this conversation with a friend the other day, actually about Stanford itself. I think
yeah,
those schools, you have to basically be good enough to get into the lottery of getting in. Because I saw a
yeah,
crazy stat. It's like only 300 people get perfect ACT, SATs. Of that number, I don't know how many apply to Stanford. Definitely not all of them, but like probably a decent chunk. my class, they declined 75% of people who had perfect SAT or ACT. It's like, if we're declining people with literally the perfect metric to get in to a school, like, what are you guys basing this on? So
No,
I actually
literally.
think it sounds copy and like depressing and down bad behavior, but I honestly would not be surprised if my application got put in some algorithm and I just literally was never even
Totally.
looked at.
No, that's very possible. It is. It feels like even from inside, like my own experience with the other students who get into Stanford, I really wonder sometimes, like, what, how did you get it in? You know, like, and it's typically a California, probably a legacy type of person, you know, where they sidoored in something, but
Yeah.
it's hard to say. Like there are a lot of different levers you can pull to gain the system, but unless you are
It sucks,
legacy
man. I
or
don't have a dad who can't donate $10 million.
yeah, if you can't buy a new library, you might have to pack your bags, man. You could try applying to Cal, maybe they'll take you, but
Uh,
also probably not.
my favorite was going back to, I really wanted to see campus. I was in Palo
Yeah,
Alto in September. I really wanted to see campus. I wasn't able to, just my schedule was too packed, but I got flown out by Meta and I ran with Mark
yeah,
Zuckerberg. And I was like, you know what? This is sweet redemption. My
it
first
is.
time in Palo Alto isn't even going to Stanford. And
Yeah,
I don't know of any other Stanford student. I was like one of 12
there you
people who
go.
met Mark Zuckerberg.
See, that
So I was
is
like,
sweet. Ending up on one hacker way without having ever been let into a so-called, elite institution. That's the way it is, though. You know what I mean? Like, you talk to or listen to like any tech executive, I feel like that's such a growing sentiment of like, oh, we don't really care if you're an all A student like that. If anything, it just means you know how to, like, you're a bot. You
right.
just do whatever you're told, and we want people who maybe push back a little bit, and you can take that with a grain of salt. I think obviously your straight C student on average isn't your next Mark Zuckerberg, or your whatever your college dropout. But yeah, I think it's such an arbitrary, uh, I guess, label to put on. Just that you went to a place like Stanford. It's arbitrarily advantageous a lot of the times.
Yeah, my goal is to do something big enough in life that they invite me to be
Yeah.
the
Keynote?
speaker. Yeah.
That'd be sweet.
I actually thought that the second I got rejected, I was like, I will have my vengeance, Stanford
I will have my
University.
vengeance. No,
I still have the
realistically though,
letter. I
like
really want to frame. I have it. What I've wanted to do. This is funny. I got it. I go upstairs. I tell my mom. I say I didn't get into Stanford. She's like, "Oh, you're doing okay." I was like, "Yeah, I kind of expected it." And then my next question was, I said, can you print this for me because I want to hang it on my wall for as long.
mm,
Like, I don't know if I said for as long as I live. I don't think I was that
for as
dramatic, but
long as I live.
I want to, I want to, because I know people who have done that, and I honestly think that is sick. I think that's a ridiculous motivation. Like,
It
if I
is.
back on my office wall, I just saw a Stanford rejection letter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would keep me motivated on days where I don't feel like, and I don't really need motivation all that often, but I do
Yeah.
think there's something cool about keeping, like they say, rejection is just a redirection.
Yeah. I like
And
that.
dude, there's this great quote. I know we're quote guys, so sharing it with
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Love quotes.
The weather's never miserable. We are. I love that one.
Mm, that's so true.
Yeah. So it's
That
all perspective.
perception's reality, man. Like, if you want that to be a roadblock, your rejection to Stanford, whatever it is, it will be. If you want that, if you
Oh,
want
and
it to
I don't
exist.
think I would be even remotely where I am today if I went
No,
to
honestly,
I
yeah,
lived
you should really
I lived
thank
somewhere.
the admin people, whoever was responsible for stamping.
Whatever algorithm.
Yeah, the faceless algorithm that decided you couldn't be put into the lottery system, because really, yeah, they like it. It is a part of your story, so that's honestly pretty cool that Stanford, in a lot of ways, made you the successful person you are today.
Totally.
Except
Totally.
it
And I
was,
agree. I totally agree. I think
awesome.
I would gain a lot of connections and experiences and even like
Yeah.
valuable parts of me if I went, but I think the
Ooh.
trade-off and the opportunity cost would just be on it. I think the running effect would maybe be like half of what it is today, because I'd just be operating. It'd be my version of like a sport where it's like my dedication and energy is put towards school. And then with any extra time, it would like go into the podcast. And so, yeah, it would not be what it is today. And that's just a testament to God's provision and providence. And my prayer that whole senior year was like, God, just let your will be done, because I know that's where I'll be the happiest. And at the time, I didn't think I could go full time. So yeah, living in answer prayers. I know you got to run here, man. So final serious question for you. What's coming up? Houston Half, where can people follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to be more active on there. So Cole C Sprout, that's my username. Posting vlogs and day in the life stuff, just to give you an insight, a little behind the scenes of what goes into training. And then I'm building some AI tools to augment the training process, helping you find personalized product recommendations, and also giving you some more accessible insights into your training trends. So that's a website called Orbit, AURBIT.org, which I've been working on and slowly releasing out to some people to start testing. So if you have a Garmin watch, you can connect it and start to get some personalized feedback on your runs and whatnot. So those are both things that I've been actively working on and continually refining. What else? Yeah, man, that's about it.
I love it. Cool. Appreciate it. Keep crushing it. Excited for you, man. Excited you continue to double down on yourself. Big things ahead, and always enjoy our conversations, man.
Hey, likewise.